In question 21, we're told that a patient with leukemia is being treated with chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and they're found to have a low blood platelet count and a high percentage of white blood cells that are abnormal. We're then given this table here, with the columns representing disease resistance, blood clotting, and oxygen transport, and we're asked to find out which row represents the patient's expected symptoms. Okay, so what we need to do is defer to the information we're given so far. So we're told that the patient has leukemia and has a low blood platelet count. So that's the first distinct variable which would refer to the composition of their blood. So we have a low blood platelet count and also a high percentage of white blood cells that are abnormal. So we have these two pieces of information. How do they relate to our table? Well, we should know that a low blood platelet count would affect blood clotting, since platelets are a key component of the blood clotting process. So this one corresponds to this here. Likewise, we can say that a high percentage of white blood cells being abnormal would impact disease resistance. So that's 2. Okay, let's work through and find out which of these would be the expected symptoms given a low blood platelet count. So if there's less blood platelet, that means that there will be less blood clotting, since platelets are a composition of the clotting process. So we can highlight all those rows with low and eliminate those that don't have it. Moving on to disease resistance, if we have a high proportion of white blood cells being abnormal, then that means that we'll have lower disease resistance, since these white blood cells won't be able to fight infections or diseases in the same way that normal white blood cells would. So we can eliminate those which aren't low, and that leaves us with options A and E, the rows A and E, and let's think about oxygen transport. Now, oxygen transport hasn't got anything to do with platelets, and it hasn't got much to do with white blood cells, since it refers to red blood cells, since oxygen transport is mediated by red blood cells. So we would expect it to be normal. So the only two rows which refer to this are D and E, and therefore our answer must be option E and not option A, and so that's our answer to the question, option E.